Washington's already had a 91-yard touchdown drive. Tonight they start from their own 9 again. Heineke looking deep, going downfield, and caught, pulled in by Dotson.
Field, 1st and 10. Heineke, blocked by Bates, going deep. He's got him. McLaurin, what a catch at the 5!
It's that's why they're ranked so high in so many different categories.
2nd down 8. The fake to Gibson. Got by Afunga, being chased on the play. Caught on the play at the 5.
The Giants. Gibson goes in motion. Heineke on 4th down. Again under pressure from Ojulari. Fires downfield, and it's Curtis Samuel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I finally found the motivation to come up here and speak about what's been on my mind for a long time, which I know most of you do not want to hear this, but someone has to step up and say it. And what I'm talking about is, of course, Taylor Heineke. He should be re-signed right now, and he should be the starting quarterback for this team next year. And I know a lot of you guys don't want to hear that. And just I have to preface this with, I like Sam Howell. If Sam Howell's a starter next year, I'm okay with that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is if we were a smart organization who knew what they were doing, who knew how to build a team block by block and just get better over time, we would re-sign Taylor Heineke, and he would be the starting quarterback for at least next year. Why? Because the man has a clutch gene. He stays healthy, which, look at it. If you saw the post that I made the other day, we've started the most quarterbacks within the last 4 years, like 14, 15 quarterbacks or something like that, some crazy number in the last 4 years. And what we keep doing is keep playing this musical chairs of quarterbacks. Taylor Heineke has shown us that he can stay healthy and he can play a full season, and we need stability at the position. And what we're trying to do right now is switch it up yet again. We did that last season too. We put Carson Wentz back in there, and look how that went. That should right there show you we were on to something. Yes, we don't have the offensive line, and Taylor Heineke struggled at times, but I think he can get better. He did get better during the season. He started hitting those deep shots later in the season, and then we took him out all of a sudden. We just took him out because he played a really good half, the first half versus the 49ers. In the second half, it went off the rails a little bit. Yet again, we don't have an offensive line. We don't have one. It was terrible. And he looked bad versus one of the probably the best defense in the league, and we take him out? Stupid. Just stupid. So yet again, going back on topic here, Taylor Heineke, if we were smart, we would stay with this guy. He knows how to win. He's one of the only quarterbacks that has a winning record here. And how long? And he did it with a terrible offensive line. And he's only his 2nd year into playing quarterback in the NFL as a starter. And guess what? Both years, what happened? We started somebody else, right? And then Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured. And then we just throw Taylor Heineke into there. And both years, he never got an offseason as the guy. He never got an offseason to start and play and practice with the ones. And then we just call upon him and throw him into there. And then when there's ups and downs and everything, he's just labeled a backup. And I don't understand why. I think the guy's a natural-born leader. He's a natural-born winner. And we haven't had something like that here in so long. As much as you guys know I love Kirk Cousins, he wasn't a natural-born winner. He has somewhat of a clutch gene too. He clutched a lot of wins as well. But he doesn't have that winner ability. He's not as liked as Taylor Heineke. Fans of other teams who don't even like us, they like Taylor Heineke. They like him. They said, oh, they laughed at us. They said, yeah, put Carson Wentz in there. They said, yeah, go ahead and put Carson Wentz in there because they know we're easier to beat. They fear Taylor Heineke more than anybody else. Does Taylor Heineke have his ups and downs? Yes, he does. But he also rallies the team. I haven't seen anything like it. It's insane to me what's going on right now, that we have another quarterback here that he even said on podcasts and stuff, I want to go back. I want to play for them. He said he felt disrespected, sort of. He was in his feelings a little bit when they took him out to put Carson Wentz in. And then guess what? When they come back and they're like, oh, we made a mistake, let's put you back in. He said, nah, I'm F that. I'm good. You think I shouldn't be in there? Put Sam Howell in there. And of course, Sam Howell played pretty well. But that's a story for another day. But here today, it doesn't make sense to me that there isn't a bigger crowd of people who want Taylor Heineke to be the starter. Why? Because what's his name played well in one game, just off of one game. This guy stays healthy. We could use him as a building block, even if it's to just help build the team around him, and then finally down the road we could also find another quarterback that is that star guy, or maybe it even is our other quarterback, Sam Howell. Maybe he does blossom into what we want him to be, then we insert him. But right now it doesn't make sense to me in a logical sense. If you want to build a team, actually sit down and build it. First of all, we need an offensive line. Taylor Heineke has a winning record. Who's the last quarterback to have a winning record here? Alex Smith, and then he got hurt. And then before that, who has a winning record? Nobody. For the last 30 damn years, something like that. And then we sit here and just label this guy a backup or whatever. So I'm going to stop rambling. And what motivated me to come up here today was I was listening to the Louis T podcast. I'm about to play something for you from the Louis T podcast, and just I want to point some things out here, because I feel this is something that I hear from so many other fans, and this is like the narrative here, but it doesn't make sense to me, and I think it's a little bit like hypocrisy here. So this is from the Louis T podcast, which I love Louis T, by the way, but let's listen to this. And I feel like there's fans out there that mimic the same thing, and they don't see just listen. So this, and just to preface this is talking about the Eric Bieniemy hire and what LaShawn McCoy said bad, negative things about when he worked with Eric Bieniemy. And basically, Louis T is going to defend Eric Bieniemy, and we'll get into it. So hopefully you guys can hear this. Let me start it.
Now, if you take Shady McCoy at face value, you're making a dangerous assumption. The assumption is, mind you, Shady McCoy spent 1 year with Eric Bieniemy back in 2019, his second year as an offensive coordinator. Shady makes a claim that he didn't speak up in meetings. He wasn't correcting receivers, tight ends, or any other position other than running back, because that's his background. If you take Shady for his word, then you're assuming that Eric Bieniemy can't get better.
All right, so what you hear right here, if you take LaShawn McCoy at his word that Eric Bieniemy wasn't good when he was there or whatever, and then so Eric Bieniemy can get better over time, but Taylor Heineke can't. He's just a backup. He's just labeled a backup forever. We haven't seen him progress and get any better over time with a shit offensive line. We haven't seen him start hitting the deep shot more and more in his second season. Seasons where he was thrown into action, he wasn't planned on being the starter, and he's just thrown into action. Doesn't have any offseason practice really with the first string. Of course, backup quarterbacks get a little bit, but you know what I'm talking about. But he can't get any better. But Eric Bieniemy, when we're talking about Eric Bieniemy, though, he can get better over time. You know, he's allowed to get better over time.
Did not get better as an offensive coordinator as the years progressed, as he got more and more comfortable again.
So Eric Bieniemy, he gets to be more and more comfortable with the Chiefs and what they're doing in their offense. And he can get better. But Taylor Heineke is just a backup. He can't get better. He's also, we're talking about 2 years here difference. 2 years for Eric Bieniemy, 2 years for Taylor Heineke. But Taylor Heineke, he can't get any better. It's not possible. You know, if he had a whole offseason this season as the guy with the starters and everything, taking from what he learned from the last 2 seasons, which he was thrown into the season halfway through, random times and all this stuff, he can't get any better. But Eric Bieniemy can.
In year 2 of being an offensive coordinator, after
year 2 of being an offensive coordinator, year 2 actually being a starter in the NFL playing quarterback. So a coach can get better over time, but a quarterback can't.
Years of being a running backs coach at every single stop. Second year as an offensive coordinator, he's sitting in a meeting or meetings that year, maybe not saying much. Maybe Andy Reid's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Maybe he's not helping with the install back in 2019. Maybe his role isn't as significant back then. I'm not doubting that Shady McCoy is inaccurate in those things that he said. But that doesn't mean in 2020 or 2021 or this past season in 2022 that Eric Bieniemy's role hadn't expanded, that his voice wasn't much bigger, much broader, much more impactful, that he didn't have a much bigger role, that he wasn't helping with install, that he wasn't making adjustments during team meetings and addressing mistakes. You're assuming that he stayed stagnant and did not grow as an offensive coordinator.
So, yet again, like I'm saying, you're just assuming that Eric Bieniemy, he stayed the same and didn't get any better from when LaShawn McCoy played with him or was playing under him. But Taylor Heinicke didn't get any better over 2 years. He can't get any better over time.
After 2019, I think that is a very dangerous assumption to make.
Yet again, I think it's a very dangerous assumption to make that Taylor Heinicke can't get any better. We have a guy who can stay healthy, stay on the field, and that's one of the best things about Kirk Cousins and also now Taylor Heinicke, right? Sorry, get my camera going here. Someone who can stay healthy and proves that they can stay healthy even behind a shit offensive line like we've had. Those are the people who can look back at the tape and say, "Damn, this, I need to do better on that." We've even heard Taylor Heinicke say, "I should have ran more last season," whatever. You don't think that if we improve the offensive line, Taylor Heinicke is not going to run more? He's not going to have any more opportunities to, once he starts hitting these deep shots because he has better protection so he can hold the ball a little bit longer and then start hitting more deep shots, then guess what? When he's back there holding the ball a little bit more and then everything's blanketed down the field because they know, oh, hey, he's going to throw it down the field, then he can run more. He hasn't had that opportunity because our offensive line was dog shit.
Which is what Shady McCoy is insinuating. So while Shady McCoy may be giving us what was true back in 2019, I do not think that that is what is the case in 2022. However,
All right, well, I think that was all from that clip that I wanted to play. But you see what I'm talking about here. And this is something that I see so many people just, ever since Taylor Heinicke started, he's just labeled a backup because he was the backup quarterback. But what he's proven over time that he can be a starter. He could go play for the Jets right now and be the guy. Why not here? If we help him out, if we get him an offensive line, then the same thing with Sam Howell. We need to protect him too. Whatever we do, we need to get an offensive line. But what I'm saying is, like Taylor or like Louis T said, it's a dangerous assumption. It's a dangerous assumption. I'm telling you all right now to sit here and think that he's not a star in the NFL, that he cannot be a starting quarterback and help us win a shit ton of games. An offensive line is pretty important, and he played pretty decent and showed us. If you look at Taylor Heinicke's stats from his first season to his second season, you can see an improvement, and you can see like his first season, those look like rookie stats in NFL. Now I know there's going to be people, oh, but he's almost 30 years old or 30 years old or whatever. He's not a rookie. Yeah, but there's nothing like getting actual real world NFL starting experience. There's nothing like it. You can sit there and even in practice, you can think that it's similar, but it's not. It's not until you are out there on that field. So like I said, looking at his stats from his first season, they look like, oh shit, that looks like some rookie NFL starting quarterback stats that come and thrown into the action, doesn't play all that great, has ups and downs. Second season, he stayed in the pocket a little bit more, probably should have ran more, but guess what? When you have a dog shit offensive line like we've had, man, I don't have too many excuses, I don't have too many gripes against what happened. I thought we did pretty dang good for how bad the offensive line was, man. I even feel bad for Brian Robinson, man. He had, sometimes the run blocking was okay, but most of the time, even he had nowhere to go, and he's sitting there putting the whole team on his back. And then we're gonna sit here, and just because of that, we're gonna throw this guy out of the window, just throw like Taylor Heinicke. Oh, he's a backup. Get out of here. You didn't overcome the hardships, and of course, yeah, maybe he's not Josh Allen or whatever, but if they thought Sam Howell was that, they would have started him earlier. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm going to just end this video here because I don't want to rant too much. You already know how I feel. And all I'm trying to do is bring up how fast we are just shoving this kid out of the door. It just doesn't make sense to me. And to give Louis T credit, he likes Taylor Heinicke, but what I'm talking about is, like Louis T always says, I want him to be here, but as a backup, I want him to get a real shot. I want him to get a real shot as the guy. You don't have to look over your shoulder. You're the starting quarterback for this whole year. You've been thrown into the action all the last 2 years unexpectedly, and you've done your best, and you had a dog shit offensive line. You did your best. How about we go out, try to do what we can to fix the offensive line, and then give him a real shot. And then guess what? Sam Howell's still under contract. We still have him. And guess what? He could still learn from Taylor Heineke. And then and who knows? It's the NFL. People could get hurt. Maybe Sam Howell's still thrown into the action anyway. But I'd much rather have Sam Howell wait and keep learning and watching Taylor Heineke play, and we give this guy a real shot before we throw him out the door. But I think that Taylor Heineke is in his feels a little bit because of what they did to him when they benched him. If you listen to the podcast that he was on, you could tell in his eye he was a little upset that they benched him, and then they tried to come back and say, oh, by the we were wrong by putting Carson Wentz in. We're going to put you back in. And he said, nah, I'm good, man. You play the other guy. You play somebody else. I'm good, man. I see how you feel about me or whatever. And it's just, yet again, this is how bad the organization is. And then not just that, what I'm speaking about here is doing Browns shit. I always talk about it, doing Brown shit, changing quarterback all the time. You're never going to win that way. You think even if Sam Howell could be a star and he could be really good, we just keep changing quarterbacks. We throw him in there and guess what? He doesn't look good his first season. Oh, get rid of him. We can't do that. We cannot keep doing that. You saw the graphic. It's like 15 starting quarterbacks in 4 years. That's ridiculous, and that's all I'm trying to speak out against. That's my opinion. Like I said, if Sam Howell starts next season, I'm okay with that. I like Sam Howell. I think he's okay. And I'm curious to see what he's got and curious to see how he grows and this and that. But deep down inside, I'm not going to feel right knowing that Taylor Heineke didn't get a real shot. And that's just how I feel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Peace.